there comes a point in any project that you're working on where you might find yourself, if you're using frameworks or packages or anything like that, those different devices that you're using has some kind of security updates or patches or just feature updates or anything like that. So what I decided to do was take this very first series that we have, the social network. This is the first one that I put out on YouTube. And I wanted to go through it and upgrade some of the packages and then show you how to change some of the things that we have working. As we go through it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the only thing I've done to get us to the point where we finished off in the series is I went to the repo and I cloned the project. Okay, I just used my git clone. Okay, and then the project itself, I just ran composer install, npm install, and then I did, I got myself set up for my environment variables, and also I ran PHP artisan storage link to make sure that we have the images and everything all set up. The other thing that I did was, if we check the changes that I made, GitHub has sometimes these update warnings within the system itself. So if something comes up as a flag, then I'll get it. So the only one that I had was to upgrade the League Fly system from 1.1 to 1.14, and I've already done that. Then I just added our seeders, I've seeded the database, and the other thing that I changed was the README so that I could have the very first video right in the README file. Okay, so those were the only changes that I've made. So we're pretty much at the same point where we were. Now, the first thing that I want to do is head down to the composer.json, and then we'll start updating some of the packages in here. Okay, so Inertia 4.4, 2.10, 7.01, those are all fine. This Inertia Laravel will now be 0.4.2. The Laravel framework we can also update to 8.40. Laravel Jetstream is now going to be 2.3. Laravel Sanctum is fine, Tinker's fine, Pusher's fine, Titan Co Ziggy. This one has changed to 1.3.5. We'll head down, 2.5, 1.91, 1.01, 5.0, 9.3, and that's good. Okay. So if you're wondering where I got these, basically what I did was I just did a fresh install I created a brand new just sort of test project just so I could see what the current numbers for the updates were, and then I'm copying them basically and just using them in here, and that's how I was able to get the current versions of things. So now what we want to do is run composer update, and then we're going to go ahead and let that run. Okay, and as you can see, there were a lot of other updates that it also brought in for us. Okay, which is fine. Now, one thing I also want to mention is that once we start running these, we are going to get hit with a lot of errors. So another part of the goal for this video is to work and practice on our debugging. Every error that comes up, we're just going to debug it one at a time, one step at a time. Great. So now that the composer.json is done, let's go over to the package.json and start working in here. So if we just take a quick look in here before we change anything, you can see that the inertia view that we're running is 0.5.4, and we actually want to use inertia view 3, so we're going to go ahead and change that. And there are some other things in here that are no longer being used by these packages. And we're also going to update this to view 3 so that we can have the most current version of view, and it'll be used with our inertia. So we can start by changing the version of inertia from 0.8.2 will now be 0.9.1. Inertia view, this will be inertia view 3, and then 0.4.2. Tailwind forms is fine. Tailwind CSS typography, that's fine. Auto prefixer, we're not going to be using that anymore, so we can just get rid of that. Portal view we're not going to be using, so we can get rid of that. Post CSS 8.1.41. This is all fine. View, we are going to be changing the version to 3.0.5. And view loader will be 16.1.2. And the view template compiler we can get rid of. And let's get rid of this comma here. And now we're going to open this up and we are going to run npm install to see if we can install those. So npm install and let that run. Okay, so it looks like it's installed and removed some packages. So let's try to run npm run dev. Okay, so it looks like it installed our new compiler. And so let's run npm run dev again, npm run dev. Okay, and as you can see, we have a lot of errors and it looks like it's in our app.js. Can't resolve inertia view. Yep. Okay, so these are all the changes that were made from view 2 to view 3 for inertia. We can make that a quick fix. Let's open up the app.js file. Okay, we're going down to the resources folder, and that's the one we're going to open up. So basically, this has all changed. So what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight it all and copy it out for now, because there are some things that we will need from here. Okay, we're going to go all the way up to the top, and I'm just going to bring this down. And then I'm going to paste in some code. And again, this is coming from a fresh Laravel install package, all of these things that we have in here. This is just the basics, and as you can see, it's just slightly different. Let me open up another section so you can see it. A little busy. Okay, so this is what we just put in on the left, and on the right, if we go down, we'll see that it's importing app as inertia app. That was the old way, app as inertia app, and it's actually we're using app as inertia app plugin inertia view 3, and this is inertia view, and we're also using create app to basically be called and rendered in our page. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that, open this back up, open this up, and now let's once again try npm run dev. Okay, and as you can see, we have gotten rid of all of those other errors, but the only thing that we have is progress. So if we take a look at the package.json, we don't have a progress package in here. Where we would get that is from the Inertia client-side setup. So now we can install npm, can paste that in, and then I'm also going to add save dev to the end of that. Enter, open that up. Okay, great, it's installed it. Let's double check in here. Inertia progress, fantastic. So now we can close this, and we're going to leave this app.js open just because we are going to be making some changes to this. So now it's time to load up the server. So PHP artisan serve on the left. We'll let that run, and then on the right, now we can do npm run watch. Okay, great. So we have 0 errors. Scroll up and make sure. And let's go see what kind of damage we've done to the app. So we'll go ahead, refresh it, and then we're just going to go ahead and grab a user so that we can log in. Okay, go back to the front, and now we are going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so we'll go ahead and paste that user in and password. Oops, something went wrong. The email field is required now. We did enter it. So here's one of the issues that we were having. Let's go check at the inspect tools. We are getting server errors. So let's check our view dev tools to see if these are being brought in. Okay, so we'll go to the login component. We'll go to the data key in the form. And as you can see, it's empty and it's empty. Now, the reason for this is because with the change in view and the change from the Laravel versions, the input component is different. So what we have to do is open up the Jetstream input component, and I am going to paste up top here the changes in the component. Bring this down a few lines. and then I'll paste it up here. And then we'll comment the rest of these out. And I'll also open up the split screen again so we can see the changes. So split, right. Okay, so basically what we just added, this value is now model value, and that's the prop that's coming in and it's being used everywhere. But if we look at the old one was using just value. Okay, and that's where the problem is that it's being called something else. So let's go ahead and get rid of this now. I was just using that to show you what the change is that's impacting us. So we can close this. We'll let that recompile. Okay, now we're getting no error, and we need to grab that user again. We're going to go ahead, refresh the page. Okay, go back up to our login component. Form. Down, so it should be email and password. Now let's go ahead and paste that user again. And password. And as you can see, now it's showing up in our View DevTools. Okay, email and password. Okay, so now we can click enter or login. And now we are in, but we have started to get into the error section. So we have one error and then 5 warnings. So let's see what they are. Let's go up to the top first. Okay, now this one is you are running the ESM bundler builder view. I went over this in a different episode. I can't remember for what series, but basically that's because if we go down to the webpackconfig.js, this is because we're now using view 3 instead of view 2. Basically in here, we just need to do const webpack equals require webpack. Okay, and then under this resolve, I'm just going to paste in some code, and all it's doing is it's adding the view options API to true and the view production DevTools to false. While we're here, let's also go to the webpack.mix.js. And one of the things in here that we need to change is we removed the auto prefixer from the package.json. So we need to get rid of that from here. And also, if we take a look here, there is a utf8.js.map error, and that's because in here, in this webpack.mix, we need to add .source maps. Okay, and that should clear up those 2 errors. So we're gonna exit out of our npm, we're gonna stop it, and now we're gonna restart it. And then we're gonna come back to the browser, and again, we're getting rid of this ESM bundler error and the source map error. This one is from my own personal, so don't worry about this one. You probably don't have this one, but the UTF-8 should be gone. So let's go back, refresh. And now if we scroll up, those errors are gone. And the next one we have to deal with is this icon. Now, this was a big question from you guys. So let's close this and this. So basically, View 3 uses components differently than they used to. So if you take a look at what we used to have, where did we put it? Okay, we pulled in the component like this, and then, yeah, that's how we were able to use it globally. But View 3 is slightly different. So what we have to do in here now is import it, icon from .components, and I need a slash here, icon, semicolon. And now down in this create app, right under the Inertia plugin, we can just do .component icon, since that's what we're calling it in the templates, icon. Now we'll let that recompile. Okay, and then we'll go back to the browser, and we have 1 error and 4 warnings. Let's see if we can get rid of that icon. Okay, so now we're up to 3 warnings. Let's go up. Icon is gone. The next one is cannot resolve component portal target. And if you guys remember, we removed that from the app.js as well. So where do we find that? We find that at the app layout file. So we need to go to our, close that up, go to our layouts, app layout. And if we scroll down, It'll be all the way at the bottom of the template. Okay, this modal portal is, we're not using it anymore, so we can go ahead and just get rid of it. Okay, we'll let that recompile and then we'll refresh. Okay, so let's go back. And this is what we're getting rid of, so refresh. Okay, so now we're down to 1 error and 2 warnings. And if we take a look, the next one is drop down a line, or drop down. And that's because, again, it's yet another of the Jetstream components that were changed, and it's the drop down component. Okay, so let me go ahead and paste it at the bottom so we can compare. And then we'll open it up on the right. So basically what's going on in here is that the new version uses leave from class and leave to class. And in the old version, it was leave active and then just the leave class and then the leave to class. So this is what that error is. So we're just gonna copy this, or we're just going to shrink it down and then we're going to get rid of it and add our new one. And just as a side note too, if you're running into errors like this that have the components, as I said, my suggestion would be to just install a fresh Laravel project just so that you can compare what the codes look like from yours to theirs. And chances are this might be one of the things that they've changed, or something similar to what they've changed. Now let's close this, go back, refresh. It's always a good idea just so that you have something to compare it to, because it's usually like a class name has changed or something has changed, and that could be an error. And we're not going through all of them. We're only going through the ones we used. So if you've used others, then definitely do that. Okay, great. We are finally in. And let's take a look. Okay, so right off the bat, something that I can see right away is that our times are gone. So if we look at what the errors are now, or the warnings, we go all the way up to the top, you'll see that the property time ago was accessed during render but is not defined on instance. And if you went through this project with me from the beginning, you know that we used Moment.js. Now, I don't really like using Moment.js because it is deprecated. They're not working on it. They're not going to do anything for it. So I've come up with an alternative solution. And is it the best? I don't know, but will it work? Yes, it will work. So let's go to our app.blade PHP, and that's in views right here. And we are just gonna stop using Moment.js altogether. Okay, so we can go ahead and get rid of it from right in here. And we can go ahead and close that now. And then what we're going to do is we are going to be using Laravel's built-in Carbon functions. So let's close that up. We'll go to app, because the component that it's being called in first is the post item. That's where we're using it. Okay, so we'll go to the post model. Models, post. Okay, and then we're going to come down a little bit. And basically we are going to create another, we're going to append another attribute. Okay, so this attribute, we're going to call it public function get time ago attribute. Okay, open that up, and then we're going to return this. And when we're saying this post created at, that's the field in the database. And then we're also going to use diff for humans, and that's a diff for humans is a Carbon function. Okay, so now right up here in this appends, we can now use time ago. So if we open up the post item component and we go down to where we're calling that filter, we can now just say post time ago. Okay, so now let's go back to the browser, and then this post should now have a date on it. So we'll go ahead, we'll refresh. Okay, now we have our 1 day ago back, and also what we need to do is, because we have that filter in multiple places, we'll need to change it there too. Okay, so if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that the comment we made just has it as well. And so we are also getting the error. We're also getting this toast notification error, but we'll fix that in a bit. One thing also, that spinner that we have on here is Epic Spinners. That's the package that we're using. Now, it uses Vue 0.2, and that's why it's working, because we still have Vue 2 kind of in our app. So that's why it's working here. But if you're doing a fresh install, then Epic Spinners might not work, and you might need to find a different solution for that. But for the purposes of this project, we're able to still use it. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this comment. So we'll come up to post, and we'll go ahead and copy this function. Copy. And then we'll go to the comment model, and then we'll do the same thing in here. So we'll paste that in, and then we'll also add the field in here. So time will go. Okay. And one more place that we actually have this is in our message model for our chat rooms. So we'll change those as well. Well, we can copy the whole thing. Copy. And then we'll just paste it right in here. And we don't need liked and disliked, so we can get rid of those. So we'll go ahead and clean this up a bit. We can close post, comment, message, post item we can close, but let's open up comment item. Now we need to find that filter again. Get rid of it from here. Then we need to go up to chat. I think it's in the chat box. And come down to message created at. And now we can also make this message time ago. Let's go to our browser. We'll refresh and see if this one has changed. Okay, and now we have our 5 minutes ago. Why don't we go to one of the chat rooms and make sure that our messages have that as well. Okay, we'll join, and then we'll just try to send a quick message. Okay, so 2 seconds ago we have it. Why don't we go back to, let's go here, and let's sort out our toast notifications. So now we can close chat box, and we can close the comment item. And since we're already using Suite Alert globally, the only thing we need to add in here now is this toast. We're going to copy this out of here. We'll just paste it up here. Should uncomment that. Okay, and now let's go back and see if we can get that working. We'll refresh the page. Let's try to create a new post. If I figure out how to use Epic Spinners for Vue 3, then I will update this as well. So yeah, if not, I know Tailwind has a function to do this, and I definitely did this in one of the series for the Tailwind spinner, but I don't remember which series it is either. If I find it, I'll link it somewhere. I'll put the link in the description. Toast notification back, and no more errors. Fantastic. So now let's go ahead and clean up this app.js. You can get rid of all this. One quick thing before I remove this. Vue 3 doesn't use filters anymore. I went over this again in another project. Vue doesn't use Vue filters anymore, but you can use them within components as computer properties instead of filters. So that's something that might be worth looking at if you wanted to do something that you would in Vue 2 you would use as a filter, but in Vue 3 you would have to use it as a computer property instead. So if you're interested in doing something like that, definitely check out the documentation. And that should be good. Let's scroll up, make sure we got everything. Yep, we're good here. Okay, so the very last thing that we need to do is work on these notifications. So right now, we are also using Moment.js for our notifications. We don't have any just yet. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and open up our worker. And in here, we'll go ahead and run PHP artisan queue work, and then we'll let that run. Okay, so it's picked up our chat message event, which is fine. But what we are going to do is we're going to go to our members section, and to trigger the notification, we are going to send a friend request. So we'll just use the first one, Alan Connolly, and we'll send a friend request. Okay, and then we are going to log out, and we are going to log in as that Talon Connolly. So we'll grab the email from here. Go ahead and log in. And now that we're logged in, you see we have some warnings again. And again, it's the time ago that's the problem. Okay, so let's go to the notification item. And if you see here, we're using time ago. We're using it twice, actually, one for the unreads and one for the reds. Now, the problem with using carbon dates in the notifications is that because it's on this queued timed function thing, that you can't really send a diff for humans carbon date in the notification. If we take a look at the actual notification itself, notifications and friend requests sent, we are able to send a carbon date. So if you go down, because that's what we're doing in our data info, we're using the carbon now function. But if we were to try to use diff for humans here, then it would always be at whatever that carbon date is. It would never update appropriately because it's not, it's not able to be set up that way for whatever reason. It's not. If I find a better way of doing it, then I will, of course, come back and update all of this. But for now, we'll just leave it as it is here. And then on the front end, we're just going to go ahead and use just simple JavaScript just to get a date out. But that diff for humans, you would basically need to use something with JavaScript in order to be able to get that diff for humans. And that's just a lot more work than might be necessary at this time. But what I did do was I just used some JavaScript functions to get it to give us a date. So to do that, I'm just going to take this one, copy paste it, and then we're going to comment this one out. And now for this whole thing, we're just going to create a computed property and put it in there. So it's unread time ago, and then we'll do the same for red. Copy paste, comment it out. Red time ago. Okay, so now we'll come down to the script tags and we will create some computed properties. And this will be unread time ago. And then we'll say let date string equals this unread data info sent. And then we'll say let options equal here, and that's going to be numeric. And of course, you can customize this however you want. I'm just doing it as simply as possible. So the month will be long, and the day will equal numeric. So now under here, we can return new date, and now we can pull in that date string, and then we're going to add to locale date string, and the first field we're going to put in here is defined or is undefined, and that's basically going to automatically pull in whatever the user's time zone and whatever their locale is. That's what's going to be filled in here, and that's the time that they're going to be getting. And then we are also going to include the options. Add a comma here, and then we'll copy this one, paste it. Now this will be red time ago, and this will be red, and then we'll make sure that compiles. Let's go back, refresh. Okay, and our errors are gone, and now if we open up the notification, we now have this date right in here. And if we click it and make it red, we will now go to that user's page, and then if we go ahead and click the notification to check it, you see that we still have the date as a red notification. Okay, fantastic. So now we have successfully upgraded our project, and it's using Vue 3 with some caveats, but The most important thing that I wanted to get across was how to upgrade it. And also, I wanted to really stress focusing on debugging and reading what's going on in the dev tools in order to be able to pinpoint things that might be going wrong. Okay? I hope you got some value out of this. I'm going to go ahead, push all this code up to GitHub, and I will leave the links for the GitHub, the Inertia page, and I will also leave a link for the JavaScript date functions so that you can try to figure out what you might want to do. Also, like I said, for Epic Spinners, if you're having a problem, Tailwind does use a function for, it uses something not as cool as Epic Spinners, but I'm sure there are others. So just check them out and investigate and see if there's something that you can use with Vue 3 instead. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.